guys, it's Search Warrant. I'm your guest or your host right now, Jake Jacobs. I'm here with Glenn Fogarty. I'm a former homicide unit detective. Glenn is a master of all trades. Our co-host, John Snedden, and Greg, U.S. citizen, will be with us next week. Today we'll have Christine Lynn Harvey on. She's going to talk about all the chemicals in our food system, in our food supply, in our water. And we're also going to talk about a bunch of other stuff. But I want to really get in touch with people. The biggest poison in our country right now, which is this political violence. I wanted to have the video so everyone could see the latest assassination attempt on on President Trump, as a result of the rhetoric being spewed by people like our Philadelphia District Attorney, Larry Krasner. And I wanted to show some things how he has targeted conservatives, law enforcement, and everything else. I want to start, before we get our guest, Christine Harvey, she'll be on in a few minutes. But let's look at Ralph Cipriano's latest article. Ralph confronted Larry about him, confronting ICE, targeting Trump, calling Trump a Nazi, calling ICE agents Gestapos and things of that nature, totally persecuting them so that they're allowed to be doxxed. Recently, City Council in Philadelphia just passed something unmasking ICE. And that's only because these dumb blacks and liberals in Philadelphia follow this white savior named Krasner. Krasner wants citizens to be killed. Simple as that. He knows that if ICE are unmasked and crazy people start going to these ICE agents' homes and messing with their kids and their families, they're going to protect them. And someone's going to get hurt. So then they can start having marches and protests talking about defunding the police. Well, Ralph Cipriano confronted this phony tough guy who seems to have the city of Philadelphia, for whatever reason. We're going to explain, because part of that tough guy role, I'm going to play the video of Ralph's interaction with him in a minute. Part of that tough guy role is what I just explained. But recently, the racist Krasner was put in his place by Philadelphia City Council, and Ralph called him out on it. So what I want to do is show you that video clip of Ralph calling Krasner out recently.
Mr. Cipriano.
Good morning, Mr. Krasner. Haven't seen you in a while. I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Krasner, how is it you would have us believe you're a fake tough guy out, that you're going to stand up to President Trump and ICE, when you couldn't even stand up to a low-level municipal court judge and a federally indicted city council member who was strong-arming you about a personal meeting for a law?
Mr. Cipriano, do you think that question, with all of its built-in assumptions, meets journalistic standards?
Mr. Krasner, I read this story on the front page of the Philadelphia Inquirer. Are you?
I'm sorry, you read your story on the front page of the Philadelphia Inquirer? Because, Mr. Cipriano, unless I'm mistaken, the Philadelphia Inquirer separated from you a long time ago, and at the time, I certainly heard a lot of comments about how they felt you only had a casual relationship with the truth. So are you saying that your story was in the cover of the Inquirer? I want to make sure.
I'm saying I read a story on the front page of the Philadelphia Inquirer about this very same issue. So are you questioning your journalistic ethics?
I'm not questioning my journalistic ethics. I'm questioning yours.
Oh, so
Thank you for your two questions, sir. I appreciate it.
Hold it. We got number two question. John Kelly.
You're at three. You already done three.
John Kelly, sir, you let him loose.
Well, that was Ralph calling out our tough guy district attorney. And as you see, what he did was he made up a bunch of excuses because Ralph called him out on it.
Right.
He made a bunch of excuses stating that, oh, is that a journalistic integrity and all that? Because he had to run.
Right.
And what Ralph was calling him out about was possible corruption within our whole city government.
Mm-hmm.
What Ralph was alleging is that you had a a municipal court judge actually force the prosecutor's office to keep a district attorney in the homicide division. And they was threatened with political pressure from not only this judge, but Philadelphia City Council with funding. So Ralph asked him a perfectly legal and obvious journalistic question, which Krasner decided to run from and target Ralph. Not only did Ralph write this article a month ago, but it's been so egregious with Krasner's behavior that his normal propaganding artist at the Philadelphia Inquirer also wrote an article which caused Ralph to confront Krasner with it. And you saw what Krasner did. He usually does is run. Yeah. But it wasn't only that. Now, Glenn, I don't know if you want to respond to that, but it wasn't only that corruption, but Ralph also, when he was trying to get his second question out, was going to ask him about a Mr. John Kelly. Now, what makes John Kelly so interesting is he literally assassinated. I'm going to show you the video and you make the call for yourself. But in my opinion, he literally assassinated a young lady in Center City, Philadelphia.
Oh, I think I remember this one.
Yes.
It was a domestic excuse, and she's trying to get away from him, and then he shot her on the sidewalk.
Well, it wasn't her domestic dispute. It was a domestic dispute between the shooter and his girlfriend.
Right.
And the other girl went to assist the young lady, protect all women or whatever, all these people, all these things they say.
Right.
And he assassinated her. Well, what Ralph was asking Krasner about was Krasner released this murderer. This murderer, he released him. So I'm going to let people make the call of what this was. And you let me know whether or not this was a justified homicide.
Yeah, you're going to ask me, was that an execution? Absolutely, because he put 2 bullets in her.
Well, let me also show you guys this, because Larry thought that was justifiable.
Wow. Because he's a retard, that's why.
100%.
So, you got another one? Yeah, there we go.
Well, that's one, but I don't want to show you that one right now. I want to show you this one.
That looked like it's like a cop spraying pepper spray.
Well, yeah, that's the cop spraying the pepper spray.
Okay, that's not deadly. That's not an execution. That's an annoyance.
Exactly.
And now he's trying to justify that the cop is more of a Gestapo stormtrooper Schutzstaffel executing Jews in the street versus a black guy shooting a girl with a real gun, but that's justified.
What was Officer, what you saw was Officer Nicoletti.
Okay.
What he was doing is he was clearing I-76 during a riot. Well, Officer Nicoletti is still on trial. Krasner is still prosecuting Officer Nicoletti
For spraying pepper spray on protest.
For spraying pepper spray. Exactly. While the other person who just committed that assassination on the sidewalk on 12th and Chestnut Street, he's walking free. He's free as a bird. And this is,
in the world of Krasner, that was one of his disciples doing his job for him,
Yes, 100%.
That was one of Krasner's voters. If he puts him in prison, he won't be able to vote for Krasner, right? So we got to let him out, regardless of the crime, and we'll just call it something that, it was justified. That's the double standard that we're existing with, which is exactly out of the playbook of Joseph Goebbels, Karl Marx, Heinrich Himmler. Okay, it's all Nazi Third Reich bullshit, and people just don't see it. And I just loved, at that press conference, that he's got to stand there. This shit all started right after 9/11, where all of a sudden they've got to have their buddies standing behind them and around them. If you notice on the floor, little pieces of paper, and then you've got that faggot standing there like a fucking statue right next to him. So he can look like a bigger tough guy. Okay, so now the first thing that I'm not allowed to use these words, but anyway, the first thing that Krasner does when Ralph asks the question is he's already uncomfortable. He's already shifting his papers, saying, "I'm done. Let me just by law I have to ask this guy a question, but I'm going to have a prepared answer to deflect it." And that's automatically what he did. The first thing is Ralph hits him with the question. The first thing is, which is a typical liberal tactic, let's deflect, change the subject, and go to something else. And starts attacking to him about him being connected to a newspaper. Okay.
Well, the thing about it is that's a lie in and of itself.
Right.
Ralph sued the Inquirer and
but
won.
That shouldn't even been the discussion at the time. That's a different conversation. But Krasner wants to deflect because of the fact that right away, he knows he's being called out, okay, on that situation. So he already formulated his exit plan, and his exit plan was simply to turn around and deflect and attack the credibility of the person asking the question. And if that didn't work, I'm sure he would have thrown in, "It's Trump's fault." Somewhere, it's all Trump's fault. No matter what, he cured cancer. It's Trump's fault. So
you look at this. You tell me right there. There's the still. This
the man standing over with it looks like a 38 or a Walter PPK, and he's got a gun literally right there to her head,
pointing at her head, and he assassinates her. And Krasner considers that justifiable,
right? And
he releases this guy.
I would say, what's justifiable? She's got a sword. She's charging him. Maybe she's got a gun, and
this officer.
But this here, which is showing me now, the poor little faggot's getting sprayed in the face with pepper spray. Oh, boo fucking who? Excuse my language, people. I'm sorry. This just pisses me off with these liberals. I just want to. I'm hoping the day comes that I come across the path of Larry Krasner, because I simply want to ask him how he survived his mother's abortion attempt. There's really no other justification for his existence. So, I mean, he's obviously doing the work of George Soros, and now his retarded son with the birth control glasses. I mean, come on, it defies common sense with the things that come out of his mouth. And that right there, it's showing. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. You've got the still shot of the guy holding a gun. Literally, that's a real gun because we heard it. We see the leftover of what happens, right? Pointed right at her head versus a cop spraying the face of a little faggot on the ground. And what happened? That faggot got up and went home. crying to its mommy, but seriously, how do you justify that this man should be put on trial for years and the other one should be left free? It defies common sense.
And that's exactly the point I was trying to make. Now we have our guest. She's only going to be available for half an hour, so I want to get her up.
Oh, absolutely.
Christine, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
We're doing great. And the title of our show, we titled it Poison, because of all the poisons that you going to talk to us about and how they are poisoning us, especially with the health, with the Mahi and the President's Health Challenge from yesterday. But we actually started with a different type of poison, which is the political rhetoric poison. But now we're going to go into the chemical poison.
All right, well, I would like to talk about how I'm very disappointed with RFK Jr. because he was actually the one that brought the case against Monsanto and Roundup because Roundup was causing cancer and people sued and they won. But now with Trump's Defense Production Act, he's making glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in Roundup, a national priority. So right now the courts are challenging. It's being tested in the courts right now. The people who did win the case against Monsanto, which made the Roundup, it's actually owned by Bayer now, that they might not be able to collect their damage money with this new production, this new Trump initiative to preserve glyphosate as, a national priority. So I'm very disappointed because actually RFK Jr. is the one who actually brought the first case against Monsanto and won. So now he's backtracking and saying he supports what the president does. So I personally have a problem with that.
Well, let me ask you, what exactly is the phosphates needed for now? Why did the Trump?
Glyphosate is the main ingredient in Roundup, and
it's also used in explosives.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that in a second. Glyphosate, the whole system, the whole big agri-system has forced farmers to rely on these chemicals to produce their, crop. And the problem is glyphosate kills the living soil. It kills the beneficial insects. We have a problem with pollinators right now. They're dying en masse. They're the only things that help us produce the food. If we lose our pollinators, the bees and the butterflies and things like that, which are adversely being affected by these chemicals, plus the herbicide Roundup it kills the good bacteria in the soil that makes the soil healthy.
Right.
So seeing that it is a chemical that causes cancer, has been proven to cause cancer, and there was a major lawsuit against this chemical saying, it causes damages and these people deserve to be compensated. Because most of them have cancer and they're going to die. It's not a nice thing to put people through, and corporations should be held accountable when they do something negligent.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you should, if you've knowingly done something wrong and done nothing to change it, you should be held accountable for it. But at the same time, when you're talking about things like Roundup, you're talking about a homeowner in a small parcel, usually, like myself personally, I didn't use Roundup.
Sorry to interrupt you. Roundup is being used en masse for crops, the food crops that we eat, and it's known to disrupt the intestinal biome. So if the good bacteria is not living in your digestive tract, it's been linked to numerous health conditions, including dementia, obesity, diabetes, cancer. There's a ton of health conditions that are linked to having a disrupted gut biome. So glyphosate in scientific studies has been proven to disrupt your gut biome.
Okay.
We're
So
most-
they've lobbied to have white phosphate included in these pesticides and
Well,
herbicides?
there's a long history that goes way back to when these companies, these chemical companies, were producing nerve gas and toxins for the war effort. So then when we had peace, they had to come up with a new way to, use their chemicals.
Right.
And they lied and said, oh, if you use our fertilizer and you use our herbicides and pesticides, you're going to get a bigger crop, a better crop. But that's all bullshit. Because what it does is it destroys the soil, it destroys the whole ecosystem, including the beneficial bacteria, the beneficial insects, microscopic insects, the fungi. That is what it grows underneath. Kind of, if you ever walked into a forest, you notice that it's very soft under your feet. If you pull up the leaves and such, you'll see there's a whole network of mycelium that keeps the forest healthy. So we're destroying this in the name of profit all over the planet. Now, what they do too is that it's not just the home gardener using a couple of bottles of Roundup. It's being used all like over millions and millions of acres. Even though it's been proven to cause cancer, the forest industry, the lumber industry, when they harvest a tree and they pull the tree up and they process it for lumber, well, they're going to plant new seedlings, right? But before they do, they spray the entire forest floor with glyphosate. And the only state that is keeping records of how much glyphosate is being sprayed in our forests is California. So they've already reported like millions of acres in California alone. So how much is this going on all over the country? Plus it's getting into the drinking water. So, the current administration is giving a free pass card to these.
Let me ask you: is white phosphate a substrate that's made, or is it a natural mineral?
It's a chemical. It's
It is
produced. It's a chemical produced by Monsanto originally to kill.
Well, I mean, I know it's needed for high heat industrial strength fire. So, in other words, you could. I'm going to go from a military perspective. It's actually very essential to use that when you have a tough target to take out. You throw a white phosphorus grenade in there.
But
It's going
we're talking about two different things here, Glenn. We're talking about an herbicide, and you're talking about a military chemical that's used.
No, I understand, but the making of the chemical, and you're saying that the industry, that when they were losing out on one thing, they pushed it during peacetime to go to use it for another thing.
All right, I'll give you an example. The person, the company, I forget, it was probably a German company, but this was during the flu epidemic, the Spanish flu. So
Okay.
they produced a chemical called Lysol.
Yeah.
Okay, to disinfect, to help to stop the spread of the Spanish flu.
Right.
Then after the Spanish, and that was during World War I that the Spanish flu broke out, right? So our troops were getting decimated just from the germs and the Spanish flu being spread. Actually, we were the ones who actually brought the Spanish flu to Europe because it came from a farm in the Midwest. So Lysol stepped up its production. The company that made Lysol, I think it was a German company, don't quote me, but they used the Lysol for the war effort. So after the war, they had no use for Lysol. So just take a wild guess what they decided to do and rebrand it and remarket it as
A pesticide?
a feminine hygiene product. So from the 20s to the 1960s, they marketed Lysol as a feminine douche.
I never knew that.
Well, that's why these companies have to be kept in check.
Right.
That's what I'm so angry about. And when, you want to step by, for national security, let's keep that glyphosate going. What you're doing is you're killing the natural flora and fauna of the forest floor.
But I think it defeats the purpose of the people that like the lumber industry, when they cut a tree down, you're going to need that ecosystem to regrow the next tree. So if you want that tree to stay afloat, you cut the tree down and then spray white phosphate and plant a new seedling in there. That new seedling is not going to grow. It kind of defeats the purpose.
Genetically modified to kill everything else but the thing that they want to grow. They want to use the glyphosate to knock out the other species, right?
Okay. That
would compete with that particular whatever tree they're growing. So that's how it works. Plus, it's killing everything in its path.
But I mean, you're saying it's a blanket herbicide, so it's hard to have that specifically target just one type of tree. Like, if you're planting a seedling for oak tree, you're telling me they've now coordinated it.
This is all that I've read about, that they use it to clear any competing vegetation. Now, meanwhile, God created the planet the way he did, or she did, to have everything work together in a symbiotic way. So if you're killing off certain things, and you're killing the mycelium that grows underneath the ground, under the leaves, right? Yeah. That's what keeps the forest floor moist and wet, so that it doesn't catch fire. So they're deforesting everything by dumping poison on top of nature in the name of profit. And this crap has to stop, because down the road, eventually, it's going to catch up to us.
Well, Christine, that's
erosion. The whatever remaining soil is left, it's being eroded because there's no more vegetation to hold on to it. So we're losing soil. It's washing into the ocean every year. I mean, it's just messed up. It's got to stop.
Well, Christine, those was part of my arguments. You're right, the symbiotic relationship. And my thing is, if that tree grew in that particular location at that time, it grew with all the surrounding things that you're talking about, the nutrients in the soil, the bugs and everything else. So now what you're telling us is that the people who we are saying the quote unquote conservatives are now giving into big ag. And to the question that I believe it was Honey West had, how do we reverse this? And if possible, because if you have big ag doing all this lobbying and everything else, and I know you talked about Lysol, and now we're talking about the white phosphate. How do we get out of this self-destructive mechanism that's going on right now?
Well, I know everybody, this is not about left and right. This is about up and down. These people own everything. All they really honestly care about is making a profit. They don't care if they kill us in the process with poison. They don't care if they kill the planet. They wipe out species that are beneficial, like the pollinators. If the pollinators go, we don't get food. Or what are we going to make soy and green? They're going to feed us their own agricultural slop? Because that's what they have, down the road for us. Once they destroy everything, right? What's left?
Well, the question that Jay's asking is, what's the alternative?
What's the alternative is people have to get active and get out there. And the Dems, by the way, just passed a bill that would make certain pesticides illegal. Like you can't even use it. Paraquat's another problem. That's being used on our food, and it's known to cause Parkinson's and all sorts of other things, just like Roundup.
Yeah, but sunshine causes skin cancer. I'm trying to ask you, what's the solution here? What's the alternative? If we get away with that, yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to tell you, if each one of us did a little bit, it doesn't even matter. You just have to do one thing.
Well, what's
And
the
if we
thing that you need me to do?
Well, tell people if you have property and you have a garden, grow some plants that attract the pollinators so that we can keep them alive. Grow your own food. You know,
Okay.
people come up with excuses all the
If
time.
there's any consolation to that, that's exactly what I do. And I
Okay,
actually
good,
have
but-
I have one phobia in life, wasps and hornets, right? But yet I've planted enough plants where I've got all these plants around and they're all buzzing around me all day long in my backyard. And I only use an herbicide on a very small section of my sidewalk because I keep getting grass in there. Why? Because dirt gets in there. And then the dirt that gets in the crack of the sidewalk suddenly gets a seed in there and it starts to grow grass out of it. So I use a
understand,
little.
but you know what? I personally, I would never use Roundup. I would just
No,
take
I don't
a
use
hoe
Roundup. I use Bayer.
or a knife and I dig that grass out myself. I'm not dumping poison that I know is going to get down into the groundwater and affect everything and everybody and destroy everything. Because the onus is on us to prove that we got cancer from a certain chemical. Do you know how hard that is? The onus is on the person who gets injured to prove they got injured. And now with this new directive from Trump making glyphosate a national priority, people are not going to be able to sue and win damages. And these companies are making handful of money over handful of money. It's got to stop. The greed is destroying everything. That's
But
what
I'm
I
saying
said.
that whatever you have, okay, the common sense answer in life is when you have a problem, you find a solution. I'm asking, what is the current solution for that?
Your solution is don't buy Roundup. Do not
If we put them out of business and they don't use it, what's the next stage? What is the
Don't buy
alternative?
don't buy crops that are sprayed with these chemicals. There's a list you can Google. Environmental Working Group, they put out a list of the most dirty fruits and vegetables. Do not buy those vegetables, and if you can, fruits, and if you can, buy organic. Now, organic's a totally different. I'm going to go off on organic too, because most of it's bullshit. A lot of these big food corporations have bought all the organic companies. Hormel just bought Applegate Farm, and they were caught using the same meat that they use, okay, to process their big agra meat. So it's not organic. The meat has not been raised mainly. People want to, if you want to support a company that raises the meat humanely, grows it organically, pasture raised, that's the healthiest for you, and then a big big food industry like Hormel comes in and buys them up, what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
So we got to stop these mergers on top of it. These mergers are just going through. You know, we used to have monopoly laws where these companies, they were not allowed to merge with each other.
I know, but Google managed to make that change, and that's why they're a conglomerate that's all merged into a monopoly.
Oh, but it's going on all over. It's not just Google. It's not just Google.
Has done it as well. So
why is beef so much?
well, that's just one
Because
industry. I'm just trying to tell you, we did have those laws. We had AT&T versus Sprint, where it was the anti-monopolization. Now Google managed to get that flipped around to where everything
Not
was.
just Google, it's going on all over with the mainstream media. These companies are buying up each other. So you're going to just get one news source and they're going to tell you what they want to hear. That's why diversity is so important. In nature, wait, let me just finish. In nature, it's really important to have diversity. Why? Because everything is interrelated. When you knock out one species, it affects the rest of them. That's why these monoculture, big food, big agro, when they grow like acres of soybeans for cattle feed, instead of having a natural diversity of other plants, beneficial insects, you have to pour more and more chemicals on top to grow the food. Because if you had just left it alone, the way God created it, you have this problem. So I try to tell people, if 300 million people just did a little something, grow their own food and such, and try to build up the soil and stop pouring chemicals on the lawn, you don't need a lawn. You could grow up, you could have an edible permaculture garden. You could have fruit trees, and you could have blueberry bushes and vegetables and herbs, and you could go out every day and pick your own food, and it would be way healthier.
But you just hit the
Christine, do
nail
you
on the
have-
head on one thing, though. You mentioned 300 million people, and that's correct. 300 million people in our country. But in my state, we're the most densely populated. And up in North Jersey, what you have is vertical people, okay? And they don't have dirt. They don't have farms. And then outside of the 300 million border that we have about 6 to 7 billion. Now, what do we do for them? What can the administration do for them?
There are people in urban centers, perhaps you haven't heard of this, but they have community gardens and vegetable gardens, and they're growing gardens on the top of skyscrapers. So
But you've got to meet the
done.
needs of the people. So if you have 6 billion to feed, what are the people in Germany doing? What are the people in Netherlands doing?
America great here and focus on ourselves first, and then we can preach to the rest of the world. People are doing things in their own way, and if you
Okay,
just
but I've been to China many times, 200 times. They
Well, then it's never gonna
preached
be done.
to me that I had to change, and I preached to them that they had to change, but they didn't, and we have to. Okay, it doesn't make a difference if we do or don't. The question I'm trying to say here is these companies sometimes merge because the smaller companies can't stay afloat to meeting the demand. They can't purchase the new equipment or whatever it is. And now you have more people coming into the place that need more and more food. So they sell out to a bigger company that can handle it. I get it. It may not be the best way, and it's probably the only way at this time to meet the needs, to feed these people that are vertically standing in, 450 people in a little 1 square block area up in the air, just to feed those people that can't grow a garden. But you have the Amish people, as somebody had mentioned, this woman that commented, she buys her food from the Amish. I agree. It's much better food. I've been out to Shady Maples out there in the Amish country, and I didn't have a stomach ache. Okay, so I get it. Even Tennessee, where Greg lives, who isn't on right now, I didn't have to, crazy stomach pains like I would have if I go to McDonald's. It's a problem, but we're only one country in a world of 250 other countries. And okay, I get it. We could take the lead on it, but you still need to find an alternative to meet that demand. You can't just shut it off like
I was
that.
just telling you what the alternative is. I understand what the problem is. If each person does a little bit, their part, get involved, get active, help support some of the organizations that are pushing for this, stopping use of these chemicals, and depends on the chemical companies to produce our food. We've been sold a lie. Come on. Now
Let me ask you, let me compare it to something in the 70s. You look like you might remember. Do you remember the ozone layer? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was from being too much Freon for about 80 years in refrigerants.
Right. Well, not just refrigerant, aerosols and stuff like that all contained it. So the entire industry, it took them 10 to 15 years once it really became prevalent in the 70s, because they claimed we were making holes in the ozone layer.
So are we supposed to wait 80 years until we find out that we've completely destroyed the planet?
We need a solution to a problem.
The planet. We are destroying the planet in the pursuit of profit over people, and that's not a lefty idea. You got to look up and who's controlling everything. Now the poor farmers
cars to save the environment and
losing their farms. 46% bankruptcies since this
I
administration.
understand that they are losing their farms, but again, transitions take time.
They've closed the Strait of Hormuz, and now the nitrogen has gone sky high, the nitrogen fertilizer. So that's just the nail in the coffin for these farmers, okay? Who makes the nitrogen?
My whole problem with this is
the petroleum companies make the nitrogen.
But Christine,
And
one thing you said a little while ago.
Right?
But 5 years ago, you didn't want oil. You wanted nothing but batteries everywhere and windmills and solar panels, and you can't make nitrogen with that.
But see, here's the problem I have with all this. It's like you just said, Christine. This stuff is vertical. This stuff is vertical. It's not left and right. Obviously, in our country, the rate of cancer and people being inflicted with cancer has grown exponentially. There is something wrong out there where somebody got to say, hey, what the hell is going on? I agree. Everyone's getting rich and everyone's dying. So if you got the California wildfires, if you got what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz, it's all centralized. Whether you had Bill Gates talking about making fake meat and fake this and fake that, all this nonsense is going to, I understand what you're saying, but I think the bigger concern, maybe to merge you and Glenn's point, is lobbyists and lobbies. That takes care of the monopolies. That takes care of all the other stuff. Not only are the companies getting rich and the corporations getting rich, but our politicians are getting rich to kill us. And that's where the problem lies, in my opinion. I've already I don't want to say I read your book, but I've already started. I don't eat meat from the shelves anymore. I grow my own food out in the backyard. I don't know if I can reverse the soil, like you said a few shows ago, with mushrooms and things of that nature, to try to get the soil rich. But I also agree with you. Not only do we got to attack, maybe from what Glenn's saying, the politicians and the corporations, but we also got to do what you are saying, is we can't look the other way. Each individual got to do their individual part. Correct. I don't know if I'm
Agreed.
No, you're right. You have to do that.
We have to get big money out of our politics because it's completely corrupted. Both sides of the aisles, they're taking money and handouts from these data centers, the big tech bros that are corrupting all levels of our government. And honestly, I think it's a plan to take away the land from the farmers, because they're going under with the tariffs. They got hit hard with the tariffs. And I know that Trump was, giving them subsidies and everything, but he cut a lot of the programs that were directed at making farming more sustainable, more efficient, more energy efficient. Also took the money away from minority farmers down in the South and redirected it. So $10 billion was cut. It was redirected to these big agri companies so they would benefit, and it was taken away from the little person. So the tariffs hurt them. When the aid was cut, when SNAP was cut because of supposed waste, fraud, and abuse, well, farmers relied on that SNAP because they got subsidies to grow the food that went for SNAP. So I believe this is an oligarch takeover of our country. They bought our politicians. They are monopolizing everything, turning everything into one. The tech bros bought off the president with the inauguration. They gave him a lot of money. And now they want all these data centers. So they're corrupting our politicians at every level, federal, state, local. And what's his name? Kevin Leary from the Shark Tank just got a big data center approved in Utah against the wishes of the people. Now, I believe, this is my personal opinion, let's put all the farmers out of business and then we'll buy up their land for pennies on the dollar, right? And then we'll put up these huge data centers and surveil everybody. Collect their data, intimidate them. They're collecting everything, by the way. All your text messages, everything you search on the internet, all your communications, and they're storing it up so that they can make a profit. Okay? Like, I'll give you an example. If you happen to drive and you're a bad person and you're looking at your phone and you happen to ask for directions, Siri says, I'm sorry, I can't give you those directions because you're driving. Well, they're recording that so they know that you're looking at your phone when you drive. So then they're going to sell that to your insurance company, right? And then your insurance will go way up. there's something called surveillance pricing. And Amazon does it, Walmart does it. Do you guys know what that is?
Absolutely. I'm actually a pioneer of it. You're talking to somebody who created this crap, and I regret every minute of it because of Marky Zuckerberg. Let me explain something. When I created things back in the early 2000s, it was called social media. And we gave away things for free for those small businesses. Okay. And then we realized when people were downloading it, like the Winklevoss twins, they wanted to do it for a good purpose. Okay. To keep people connected. But if you also remember the Melissa virus, Mark Zuckerberg, he turned around and used that and implemented it. And everybody got emailed, hey, Christine just joined Facebook and wants Jake to connect. Okay. You got spammed to death because he was putting that all together. But guess who bought it? It all went to a server sitting by Google in San Francisco's harbor on a barge until the federal government wanted in on it. And then they said, well, no, we don't want you touching our servers. So what they did was sail it 12 miles off the coast. It's in international waters. Then Microsoft got involved in it. That's why they paid him $3 billion. And now those server centers are sitting in Redmond, Washington, completely untouched by the federal government. Okay. And I get it. So I'm familiar with that. The auto industry is one of the most of the guiltiest because they put microphones in your car. They actually have cameras watching your eyeballs. And there's a simple fix. You go underneath your steering column and you disconnect it and put tape over the camera. That's exactly what I did. Okay. And then you can also pull out the USB out of your fuse box, a little tiny USB about that big. It takes 2 minutes of your data to record what was the last minute thing you were doing before you crashed and died. Okay. So you don't want to be surveilled, pull it out.
That's what I mean. We all have to do a little bit. Disconnecting from the surveillance grid. That's one way that we can do our part.
But they buy it, and Zuckerberg needs the money for his privacy. He's just now displaced half of Hawaii for his compound to have his privacy while you are the commodity, and he's expanding, putting all their farmers out. But he's a hero. He's a hero to but he's a hero to people like Chuck Schumer who say we must support Mark Zuckerberg here. He's a hero to our country, even though he's displacing people, and George Soros and everybody else like that. I get it. And some of these people on both sides of the fence are all going to profit. But at the same time, you need the AI data centers, okay? Because we have to keep up, because if we don't keep up, the Chinese do. And they don't care about their farmers. I've been all over China 200 times in my life. I speak Mandarin. I know all their politicians. They don't give a crap about you. They don't give a crap about that environment. All they care about is their money and their power. So what are they going to do? Wipe out all the farmers, put up their data centers, and then they're going to sell it to us, and we're going to be subjected to their propaganda. So we have to compete.
Well, I also believe that when you own a tech company, because we know Zuckerberg was in China. He married a Chinese woman, right? Oh, she's got Chinese heritage. And he even offered to name his firstborn son after Xi. And Xi declined. So what the hell was that?
Yeah, exactly. I know.
So these
my
people have to
problem
be
is
for selling technology to other companies that put us in a vulnerable
position.
Treason.
It's treason.
It is treason. Yeah, you should not be selling that kind of technology to an adversary, because China is not our friend.
You know that Zuckerberg gave the technology to China because he wanted into that market.
Correct.
You know that.
But I can tell you right now, it's not that he gave the information to get into that market. What it is in China, their culture is it's not what you know and what you have, it's who you know. So obviously he had to manipulate a lot of people to get in there. And they probably
well when you have a person or whatever, that's what the founders talked about. They knew that money and power, all this stuff was going to be the root of all evil and to the detriment of our company. So we can sit back and say that treason is not going on because China's forcing us to do whatever and we can't do this and do that. Well, no, that's part of getting out of this rut. Is when someone like Zuckerberg goes and do that, you charge him with treason, so the next person don't do it. The next person don't give you whitewashing. You put them in prison. When you sit back and turn Lysol into a douche, then you put them in prison because you don't poison your women. You don't. You know, Christine's talking about the trees. and that supply was being harmed. Well, when you harm the human race by sticking a poisonous douche in your reproductive organs of a female, then that should have been done then. And then in 50, 70 years later, you don't have these problems. Everybody can still get rich. Everybody can still be healthy. It's just that how many diamond rings can you buy, Bambi?
I'm not against capitalism, but
Right,
against
exactly.
the excesses of capitalism. They're destroying the planet. They're polluting it. They're going to destroy it to the point we're not having any clean drinking water, and then we're going to have to pay through the nose for it. You know? So doing your part is learning how to disconnect from as much as you can without being made so terribly uncomfortable. But there's ways of generating your own water from the air. You can condense it. If you just Google these things or you watch them on YouTube, it's amazing how much self-sustainable tips are out there. You could generate your own electricity, your own heat, your own water. You don't need these big corporations controlling you, because once they put up these data centers, we're seeing it all over the country where they already established these data centers, is they are taxing the energy grid. They take advantage of the taxpayers building the infrastructure, okay, the electric lines and all that stuff. They don't pay anything. They don't pay anything for the water. They're not paying their taxes. And then they're draining.
You're kind of incorrect on that one. You do have to pay for those things.
People are complaining who live around these data centers. Their electric bills have jumped up sky high, and also brown water is coming out of their drinking water. We don't want this.
That's why when you build a data center, which I'm involved in, is you have to also consider the water table. You have to consider the cooling needs and the people. The only real problem that people have with data centers is the noise from the fans, because without cooling, you need a lot of fans. And at night, it sounds like buzzing bugs, really loud. And that I get. That's
an AI data center, Glenn?
Excuse me?
Do you live right next to an AI data center?
No, I don't live next door to one. I can't go 5 feet without crashing into a car. I'm so compacted in New Jersey here. But if I did, I would have a problem with it as well. But what I do have a problem with is from the air instead. The government, the state government, New Jersey, has doubled down on doing what's called cloud seeding. Okay. And they're dropping aluminum, barium, and graphene on me. 35 KC tanker planes sitting there piling it on, making our skies look like a checkerboard. But they claim this is for cloud seeding and global warming and all this other stuff. And meanwhile, I'm coughing up a lung every time they do it. It always happens on a beautiful day. They start in the morning when you have beautiful blue sky. By the afternoon, it looks like an October sunset of nothing but clouds. And you're all coughing and people are getting sick. So, okay, we take care of the ground, but what about the air too? They're hitting us from all different directions.
We have to take care of everything. We have to start getting active in our local. I've gone up to Albany. I've lobbied. I've gone to Washington. I've lobbied. So it is time consuming. But if
Christine, you haven't lobbied. Christine, you haven't lobbied. You want to know why you haven't lobbied, Christine? Because you don't have the billions of dollars to buy the real lobbyists out. You're going up there protesting and saying, okay, can you guys do this? But then someone comes right behind you and gives them a check for $1,000 or $5,000. So now they done forgot all about Christine.
You need to get the funding behind you to get that lobbying going.
But it shouldn't.
Right.
I believe you should take it out. You got to take funding and all this stuff out of your elected officials, because right now, to your point, these data centers, Glenn and Christine, you have them right now in Congress talking about putting devices in your cars, since you guys want to talk about cars.
They're already in the cars since 2009.
No, but they talking about when you get in your car, they look in your eyes and say you can't drive. You won't.
They have automatic shut off on your car now.
What I'm suggesting, because Glenn, he's got a good point. What are you going to do? Get yourself involved. If you Google what subjects you're interested in, like surveillance and laws that are being made about, just surveilling you, and breaking the Constitution. There's groups out there that are taking legal action. So you can get involved. You can know when they're petitioning them, or you can donate a little money to help them. You don't actually have to go to Albany, because let's say all of us right now are probably working 2 jobs just to keep our heads above water. So, but if you just do a little bit, it does help. These Congress people and senators do get your letters, because I've written them several times. Like, I'll get a notice from a particular organization that I'm following on a particular subject, and then they'll send me an email saying, if you want to sign the petition, you can just click on the link. It goes right directly to your representative. You don't even have to look them up. And when you write a tailored, personalized letter, instead of using a form letter that they, will send you so you don't have enough time, when you send a personalized, heartfelt written letter, that representative does read it, and they will respond to you. Because
not all of them do. Not all of them do. And I'm just trying to say that I work around in those circles, and I get what you're saying. I wish that was the case, but unfortunately, most times you send a letter to your representative, it gets read by an intern or a volunteer and then filed somewhere. 90% of the time. There's a few that will get through, and I agree with you on this one. But they honestly do not give a shit about you, and they don't give a shit about your cause. And what I'm saying is what Jake said is
Schumer is not well loved by the Democrats. The Democratic
No,
Party.
I just used him as an example. How about Frank Malone? He's 6th in line to be the president. I've actually asked him a few questions, and the man is a moron. I mean, honestly, I don't know how he's pulling off.
He's never responded to any of my letters, so I don't have.
What I'm trying to tell you, Christine, is what I'm saying is when he was talking about the lobbyists, yes, okay, I get it. And you have organizations and you have movements. They don't get. Look at the way Krasner reacts when you confront him about a crime that we were discussing earlier. They have prepared for this, and they don't want to be involved. What matters is money to them as well. Their voters, their money, their funding that will come to them. Oh, okay. So if I get rid of these pesticides, can you guarantee me now, 1 million new voters? And how much fundraising will you do for me? That's all they give a shit about when it comes to your generalized congressional candidate. 90% of them. There are a few that are exceptions, but about 50% of them out there at least only give a shit about the money. That's all that matters to them. Sorry.
Well, we got to change the system, whether it's protesting, demanding a change, no more, big money in our politics. We got to fight for it. That's our democracy. Hey, listen, guys, I love you all. I got to get going. Time.
No, thank you, Christine. I was just about to tell you, give me your last words, because we're about to shut down the show. I appreciate everything. And you always are like me.
My last word is it can be done. And we have to do it because nobody's going to save us. Okay? Peace out.
And I'm with you on that one, Christine. Okay?
Have a nice one, Christine. Thank you once again.
Take
Great
care.
talking to you.
Bye.
Bye. Glenn, it's been a great show here.
Absolutely.
I'll see everyone next week with John and Greg and everyone else.
All right.
We're gonna bring up some more stuff, whether it's Krasner or Christine, because I think both of them are good topics. For our producer Bill, have a great one, guys.
All right. Take care.
See you, Glenn.